right. Hello, ladies. Nikki here. Hope you had a great day today. It was hot today. My goodness. It was hot. People had bad attitudes today. I was at the health club today, and these two women almost got into a doggone fight. I said, no, we pay too much money for y'all to be acting ignorant. Nah, they were fighting over the dressing area. It was so silly. But anyway, hope you're doing great. Okay, so I wanted to continue the conversation from last week, where we were looking at different articles and just different turns of events that we need to start thinking about, that we need to start incorporating into our future goals, into our future plans. I think it's really easy to look at gossip and silliness and pettiness and just the things that you get sucked into with social media. And so one of the things I asked this morning on my Facebook page was, when was the last time you allowed yourself to think good thoughts for an extended period of time? And a few women answered and said, one of them said, I don't know if I've ever done that. And, some of them said, I do it a lot. Hey, Danny. Hey. One said she does it a lot, and I agree, she does. But one of the things that I've noticed is, we are drawn to negativity. We are drawn to bad news. We are drawn to, horror stories. And the reason I asked that question this morning is, well, how can you have a good future? How can you have a good life? How can you create a good life if you keep swapping negative stories, if you keep swapping bad news, if you keep sharing, the things that are not going well, without a solution, right? So there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is the problem. And then saying, okay, so what can we do about it? How can we turn it in our favor? So I don't believe in having conversations about things that are not good if I can't talk about how we can turn it in our favor, right? Because it's just not productive. It doesn't make any sense. So today we're gonna have a different type of conversation, continued from last week. Last week we looked at a couple of different videos. We particularly looked at the Elon Musk all hands Twitter conversation, his first meeting with the Twitter company and their Q&A session. If you have not seen that, ladies, please go back and look at it. I show the passive aggressive smugness of the other lady that interviewed him, and that, that's in a lot of us. A lot of us do that. And we think we're slick and people don't know what we're doing. So it's a great case study. And today I want to talk about something, and this might be a little bit dry for y'all. And if it is, no problem, just, keep it pushing. You might come back to this later one day. But today I want to look at something that goes hand in hand with that allows you to think about the future and where you fit into this future that we're about to look at. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So this is an interview that these two young men on top, Sagar and Marshall, they're young guys, and they have a little channel called, I shouldn't call it little, it's much bigger than mine, called The Realignment. And they interview different people just from all backgrounds. They have great conversations. I just found them recently. Check them out if you want to stretch yourself. Stretch yourself, not stress yourself. So they had a conversation with this gentleman on the bottom. His name is Peter Zeihan, and he just released a book recently called "The End of the World is Just the Beginning," and he's talking about everything that's going on geopolitically that's hitting right now, and how there's going to be a huge change in everything, in the way that We experience, trade, infrastructure, technology. It's a great conversation. I'm not going to share the whole conversation. Of course, it's an hour long. Check it out. Here it is right here. Just type in the realignment, Peter Zeihan, number 255. And hey, Catherine, and you should see it right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And I'm just going to stop and kind of talk y'all through it. So we're just going to look at a few minutes of this. I'm looking at my notes. So we'll probably look at about a few minutes of this, and then I'm going to stop in between. I'm not going to have y'all look at the whole way through. So let's get started.
Supply chain. And that has been the norm for those city-states for most of recorded history.
I want to bring up one last thing on China.
Can y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that okay? Catherine, can you hear that, honey? I'll go back a little bit. 26. Let me go back.
And the return from the emptying of the cities to the countrysides as people return to subsistence agriculture is the norm. So a completely pre-industrialized tyrannic society.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
And then separately, you will have the city-states from Shanghai down to Guangzhou. Historically, these cities have gotten the majority of their food from abroad. They partner with foreign companies and countries
awesome. Thank
to
you,
get
honey.
food and to get capital and to get technology, and then they process that with local labor and infrastructure to make products to participate in someone else's supply chain. And that has been the norm for those city-states for most of recorded history.
I want to bring up one last thing on China before we move on.
Okay, listen to this part. Listen to his question about China and technology.
And what I wonder about, though, is the role of technology, automation, like those very obvious cliches, but also like the very just true dynamics. I follow a couple of like CCP show accounts, and something they've like pointed out in past weeks, like responding to this demographic question, is folks who say this is going to be devastating for our industry are ignoring the fact that right now already the Chinese system is far more automated than it was. So it requires less like workers. So a world where they continue to grow, growth is down, but growth continues. You have increased automation, therefore requiring fewer workers in more concentrated spaces. Why isn't technology going to be the deus ex machina for them, basically?
Well, the productivity stats that we're able to get out of China, yes, I know Chinese statistics, don't support that argument. They suggest that while total labor productivity has increased by a factor of 2 or 3 since 2000, total labor cost has increased by a factor of 22. So it's just not happening. Now the automation is required. The automation that is required to make this, to really move the needle, is expensive, and it doesn't come from very many places. The machinery that the Chinese make is very low end. So if you want to do textiles, it's probably okay for that, but you're not going to use it for automotive. For that, they have to import either from the United States or from the Europeans, with the Germans generally being kind of the go-to country for everyone. They do the best machinery in the world. And then there's the problem that you still have to train the folks. And if they haven't moved up the value-added scale fast enough, then you have another problem. So I can see the Chinese being squeezed from both sides. There's also a third issue that is more relevant for most of the rest of the world as opposed to the Chinese. Machinery is expensive. Installing it is expensive. Building it is expensive. Retooling it constantly as the product evolves is expensive. And since we have this baby boomer cadre globally that is in the process of retiring right now, they're taking their investment capital with them. So anything you want to do that's new, especially installing a new industrial plant, now has to be done in an environment of tighter capital markets than we have seen since at least the 70s, probably longer.
Peter, I want to talk about America. I realize we're talking about Russia, we're talking about China. Turn some of your analysis inward. The last time you and I talked on Breaking Points, you talked about America and populism.
Okay, so first things first, when he was talking about China just now, yes, Danny, they are ahead of us, but what he's saying is now that at this point, the Chinese labor has become more expensive. So so this is why I'm saying you got to think about the future right now. Yes, that's true. but he's talking about different things. And by the way, he's a geoeconomist, right? And so he's just talking about the whole, the the whole like meeting of all these different variables and how they're going to impact China. Because and he schooled me because I thought, hey, China's gonna dominate, and it's not that they won't, in a way, but not in the way. It doesn't seem like it's as certain as we thought long term. Okay. Olivia, I've heard that. I'm not 100% sure. I have heard that, but America, I don't. We think we know what our country is doing, but I don't know if they really are doing that to that extent. We'll see. I don't know.
What's going to happen to our population? What are the meta trends here that are going to inform global trends as well?
Well, let's start with the good news. The United States is the world's largest energy and agricultural producer and the world's largest energy and agricultural exporter.
Did y'all know that the U.S. is the largest agricultural and energy producer and exporter? Did y'all know that? Listen, this is the future, ladies. Listen.
That's a good start. Also, our baby boomers did something that no one else's did, and they had kids. So say what you will about the millennials. They're here, and that provides the United States with ballast in its consumption and its production now, and will provide ballast with its advanced production, its tech system, and its capital generation in 10 years. That's great. I mean, you can't screw that up. We'll try, but I don't think we're going to make it. The biggest challenge the United States is going to have for the next 5 years is rebuilding that industrial plant, hopefully before the Chinese system completely implodes.
Listen, this is your opportunity. Rebuilding that industrial plant before the Chinese system implodes.
I doubt we're going to make it. So we're going to have a simultaneous shock from product shortages. At the same time, we're trying to build that dirty word, inventory, to insulate us. At the same time, we're trying to build out everything about our manufacturing system. This is going to generate what will probably be the most inflationary period, at least since World War II. And it will last for at least 5 years. Now, while we could theoretically screw this up, this is probably also going to be the fastest growth that America has experienced since before the Civil War, because we're looking at just a massive expenditure to build out that asset class that's necessary for us to have the things that we want and need. We're doing this with the baby boom.
So the United States is going to have to become self-sufficient again and reinvest in itself on a much larger scale than it has in the past 90, 100 years. Maybe 80 years. This is a good thing for you, ladies. Let's keep listening.
Boomers retiring. We're doing this with Gen Z, the young kids coming in, and boomers were the largest generation we've ever had. Gen Z is our smallest one ever. So we already have a shortage of 400,000 workers a year in a time that we need to double the industrial plant. This is going to be rough. But on the backside of this, we'll have a more stable supply chain system that is largely within North America and is subject to North America things. That's not going to trigger a global trend. That's going to remove the United States from really caring at all about how foreign supply chains work. And that's going to leave us to other countries to either pick up the pieces or shrivel.
So this is something I want to drill into a little bit, because I've been kind of obsessed with this. I have realized in recent times with inflation and the supply shocks in particular, I'm like, oh, this is not going away for years. I mean, no matter what, we are not letting Russia back into the community of nations. I think that's been, no matter what you think of that policy, which means gas is going to be $3.50 and higher a gallon for probably the next decade. And
there's a lot of things that can be done on that.
Oh, I'm curious though, because we need refinery capacity. The Jones Act isn't getting repealed anytime soon. We have all kinds of insanity baked into our bureaucratic systems here that I see no faith that will. I'm curious. I'd love to hear your response.
Overall, I think you're on point. We're going to have shortages in a number of products because of what the Russians are. Well, because the Russian stuff is being removed from the system.
Right.
Former Soviet commodities being dumped on the global market since 1992 are one of the two biggest reasons why inflation has been so low for the last 30 years. And that's completely going away. So the oil situation is obviously huge. Natural gas for the Europeans and for fertilizer markets is huge. Fertilizer markets in general is a nightmare.
Olivia, you're so smart. Olivia. If I got a bunch of like gold stars here, little stickers, because I homeschool my kids, I would give you a gold sticker right now if I could, honey. Yep. I that's what I think. Yes.
We're losing 70% of the world's neon. That means we get a decide later this year what doesn't get a semiconductor, because we can't make as many.
Exactly.
On the gasoline question specifically, however, the U.S. president has the authority from the 2015 budget bill to summarily bar oil exports. So what's going on with our oil markets right now is we export several million barrels a day of high quality shale crude that's light and sweet and broadly easy to refine. And we import a similar amount of heavy sludge, primarily from Canada, but not exclusively, that only the United States has the refineries that are sophisticated enough to turn into high-end product. And then we export some of that product as well. If Biden were to reinstitute the oil ban, all the shale crude would be locked up in the United States. You'd have catastrophic energy prices globally, but you'd have rock bottom energy prices within the United States. Right. And we would have to go through a blitz of refining capacity expansion. Because while Biden
a blitz of refining capacity expansion. Keep listening. Stay with me, ladies.
In bar exports of crude, he can't bar exports of any other energy product, including gasoline and diesel. So I can see an environment where the refiners bitch and moan and scream for a couple of years until they've built out like 4 or 5 million barrels a day of new capacity. And then all of a sudden they're like the fattest cats in the land, because they have imported crude, they have local crude, they have different blends they can turn into different products. And every single one of them is exportable to an energy market globally that is sky high. That is how you make $1 billion these years.
Okay. So we are talking about the future. We're talking about how we set ourselves up strategically. So based on what Peter just said in these last few minutes, what industries would be a good idea to target to develop a skill set around that you could serve? I'll give you a couple. Oil and gas, of course, he's talking about that. Supply chain. Logistics. Refineries. That's right. That's right, Catherine. Oil, energy, and gas, right? So O&G right now is not doing that great. Pharmaceuticals, you damn Skippy. Yes, Essence, absolutely pharmaceuticals. Right, because we get a lot of our pharmaceuticals from India right now. I think India is still going to be on the map in a big way. I think that we'll still have a great relationship with them, but we still need to get much more self-sufficient with pharmaceuticals. Okay, let's keep going. I'm not going to keep y'all too long today.
Listen, Peter, if I've actually been saying this, I'm like, if I had access to capital, I'd build two things. I'd build an oil refinery and I'd build a nuclear reactor. Now, the problem is that the regulatory and ideological environment against both of those things nearly make it impossible. And I completely agree with you on the export.
Well, refining is not as hard as you think.
We haven't built one since 1977, right?
Right, but we have doubled the capacity of the ones we have. Every refinery, by definition, has a lot of standoff space, because when you work with petrochemicals, you don't want to be close to a housing unit. Right. So we have seen, especially in Texas, significant build-outs, and I can see new fractions.
Okay. So what areas, what states should you be looking at? If you're looking to move somewhere, what states could you be considering? Texas, Louisiana too, right? Because Louisiana also has like the oil rigs, I think. Yeah, he is. Yeah, Catherine. Yep. Okay. Let's keep listening. Sorry.
shading and distillation units being built at every single facility that can tap the shale market. That is largely Texas. And let me add something to your investment target: a fertilizer plant.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Because
we're looking at
food
least a
prices.
3-year shortage of everything.
Yeah.
Alaska,
let's go into some
yeah,
of the other
Catherine,
shortages, since you have such
yeah.
deep knowledge on this. I think I try to spell it out for people: gas, food.
Okay.
Because these are the basic.
Yeah. Yeah, Alaska too. So yeah, so oil and gas, supply chain, fertilizer distributors. Let's see. Let me skip up a little bit. All right. Future shortages. Oh yes. Oh yes. He's going to talk about that, Catherine. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be that's an issue. That's about to be an issue.
This is coming back. It will. But again, you don't build that industrial plant overnight. The one I'm most concerned about is fertilizer. Belarus plus Ukraine plus Russia is 40% of global phosphate.
Mhm.
It takes 10 years to bring a phosphate mine online. The natural gas prices in Europe have gotten so high, they're not even making nitrogen fertilizer. We're expanding that here, but that takes 3 years. And then phosphate, we used to get the bulk of internationally traded phosphate from the Chinese, but the Chinese are having food security issues, and so they've banned all export. So we're looking at a breakdown in the supply system for all 3 fertilizers at the same time, and we should not expect it to get better in the next 2 years. So we're already seeing in more advanced countries a degree of crop switching: less corn, less soy, more hay, for crops that are less fertilizer intensive. And in poorer countries, whether it's South Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa, we're seeing countries just not use much fertilizer. Now, we don't know how bad this is going to be until we get some harvest forecasts. We'll probably get that around September. But we're looking at the worst global harvest year in years. And that is going to generate the start of a multi-year famine. There is no way to avoid it at this point. The war could end tomorrow, and it's already too late for this season.
So I want to really sum up what I'm hearing and then tie it into something you said on breaking points. Basically, like this era-defining reality, which is globalization moving forward, has been just the defining post-Cold War political reality in this country. And this goes to why you said, quote, all of the successful or presidential candidates post 1991. So Bill Clinton combined with Ross Perot, George W. Bush, President Obama, Trump, Biden, you have an interesting case to make there, are basically running the more populist campaign that in many ways is kind of responding to excesses of globalization, at least rhetorically.
That's definitely a big piece of it, yes.
So if that era has come to a close, though, how do you think this underlying dynamic of globalization being over and folks saying, wait a second, I do miss Amazon delivering everything to me in a day. Oh, I'm no longer concerned about my job going in the 70s because jobs are coming back now. Yet I have to suffer because this isn't great to get my new car.
Right. So basically what he's saying is that, all this globalization is coming to a close, and all the president's policies since 91 have been based from a globalist standpoint. But because of all of these variables around the world that are going on, particularly the war between Russia and Ukraine, which, like he said, and like we were talking about, would impact fertilizer, would impact grain, it's already in trouble. Now, the United States would still have food, but, it's even here, it would be, it'd be tight. Catherine says, I think they're going to kill a lot of animals, to be honest. Hold on. Let me click this. They have been killing poultry cow to reduce the strain on hay and other feed. Yeah. I think that's why, they've been sharing all those pictures of, 10,000 dead cattle, da, 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 da. I think that's what it is. Yep. There will be. Mm-hmm. And Joe Biden was saying that maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. He's like, there's going to be food shortages. Yeah. Oh, Catherine. Yep. Olivia, that's what I'm talking about. The cattle that died in Kansas last week in that quote unquote heat wave, like 9,000 of them or 10,000 of them or something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, well, let me let him finish this.
How do you think that will shift this dynamic?
Oh, Americans are going to bitch a lot. That's unavoidable. Luckily, a lot of the new manufacturing
Wait, quick
technology.
thing. Does Americans bitching a lot? Does that help the pro-globalization side rhetorically?
I don't
Like, who
think
does that
so.
help?
Our political system is in one of its periods of generational reset.
Listen to what he's about to say. Our political culture is in is in one of the phases of generational reset. Let's listen.
When the factions move around, and every party for most of their duration has like one faction who's kind of first among equals, if you will. In the Republican Party, that was the business community for a long time, but Trump ejected the business community from the Republican coalition. So we're not having that kind of coherent discussion of economic matters that we normally would expect to see within the Republican coalition. The business community might come back, they might switch to the Democrats, they might become swing voters, don't know. We're not to the point where we can have that discussion nationally and coherently yet. Luckily, there are a lot of new technologies in manufacturing that support a supply chain system that is much closer to the consumer, sometimes even co-located. So when you take things like the ultra cheap stuff coming out of the shale fields that can be used to make more value-added products like plastics, that's a completely domestic supply chain. You marry that to something like, say, 3D printing, and anyone who has a warehouse can now also be a manufacturing center. So it's not so much that you have an Amazon distribution center close by and get products the next day. It's that you have someone's, like Amazon's, distribution and manufacturing center nearby, and your product is made and delivered to you the next day. That is going to be the norm for probably about a third of consumer goods. And then the more advanced stuff like your washing machines and your cars, we already have a lot of that here. And the Mexicans are proving remarkably creative at moving up the value-added scale very quickly. I'd say in terms of total labor productivity, the Mexicans have...
Your name. Your name. Yes, honey. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't want my laugh to interrupt what he was saying. Let me go ahead. Okay.
Have now passed the Canadians.
Wow.
There are plenty of pinch points. There's no way we adapt to this quickly, but
let's go back. Sorry.
Consumer goods. And then the more advanced stuff like your washing machines and your cars, we already have a lot of that here. And the Mexicans are proving remarkably creative at moving up the value-added scale very quickly. I'd say in terms of total labor productivity, the Mexicans have now passed the Canadians.
Wow.
There are plenty of pinch points. There's no way we adapt to this quickly, but we were seeing the fastest industrialization process in the American history in the last year of the Obama administration. And then with COVID, it's sped up. And now with Biden, it's speeding up more. We're moving in the right direction. We'll get there.
So, but what does that have to, so fair, totally agree with your point about the coalitions and not being quite clear. How do you think that dynamic, though, of populists every 4 to 8 years will shift given, once again, the end of globalization? If so much of that populism was about responding to decisions made from, let's say, 1991 to basically 2002. How could you see that shifting? Because I don't quite know what the populist reaction to what you're describing is, if you kind of know what I mean.
All right, check this out. Listen to what he's going to say.
I hear you. And I don't think they know yet. And I don't think they know yet either. And that's part of the beauty of populism, is it attracts support without even having a policy. It just catches the ennui and the anger. As a rule, when we're going through these political reshufflings, that's when the populists are the loudest. And as a rule, when we're done with the reshuffling, the populists are shoved back into the closet.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on right now is every faction wants to be the issue that is the litmus test for loyalty to the party. And
every faction wants to be the litmus test for loyalty to the party, both parties. Okay, so that's popular. It's wild out here.
So whether it's an issue on race or abortion or inequality, everyone is screaming. It usually takes 8 to 12 years for us to sort this out. We are now in year 7. So we have at least one more presidential cycle to go through, unfortunately. I can't do more than hazard a random guess as to what the factions will look like on the backside. But the idea that in a rapidly aging demographic, because we're aging too, that the rules of the past apply might be a bit of a reach.
What's the rule?
Yeah,
what's a past rule that you think is going on the way out?
Well, it's when populations get older, they get a little bit more crotchety. And so I can
Love the
see
euphemisms.
us at least. I can see at least for a few years us getting a third party where the populace of the left and the populace of the right are more or less on the same page.
That's happening right now. There are people on both sides that are like, okay, this is ridiculous. And so this third party is gonna mix some things up here, which I think is a good thing, actually. Let's see what happens. Let's see what he says.
And that won't be stable having 3 parties. It will always collapse back to 2. But for the first time in American history, one of those parties might actually be populist. We won't.
I mean, if nothing else, it would just hold the other 2 parties' feet to the fire in a different way, as opposed to. This is just my own opinion. As opposed to being like controlled opposition. You know what I'm saying? Like it would make the Democrats and the Republicans like do some damn work or do more work, more productive work. I'm not going to get on a rant about who I think needs to do more work than the other, because I do think it's, yeah. Catherine says over abortion. I see that overlapping with right wingers and leftists. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. There's going to be a lot of overlap.
No, for a few more years.
Eventually, when as people get hungrier. See, right now, I mean, we complain the way we do. I mean, because we imagine living in such a peaceful time that you gotta come up with microaggressions and things like that to be upset about. You see what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that we don't have any problems, but I'm saying that the problems are getting more and more granular that people are screaming about. But when we get to the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs again, and folks are hungry and food and gas is getting tight, I think that people are going to change their tune, and they will they'll join together on some things. So we'll see. In 5 genders, yes, Catherine.
But when I see people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden basically having exactly the same foreign policy and economic policy,
that's right, Melody.
I can see that working.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, I guess the other macro trend I actually wanted to get with you, which you've talked a bit about in the past in the podcast, is urbanization and general demographic movement, both in country and among countries. So obviously a hallmark of globalization has been mass immigration. And obviously populism pushes against that maybe here in the West, but that's not, even then we still have massive numbers of immigrants relative to our past. How do you think it's going to change both movement of people, since we already seeing changes in movements of capital?
I think that's going to slow down, unfortunately. A lot of the countries that we've historically gotten population from in the last half century have been Mexico and Central America, and they're tapping out. They started the industrialization process later, but now it's been going for at least 25 years. So their population structure is starting to become a little shy of kids. So I think we're going to see, Mexican migration to the United States for the last 13 years has been negative for 12 of the 13. Central Americans are going to grow into that club here in the next few years. Any other population movements you're talking about, that's us going out and getting people. That won't happen without a change in mindset.
Listen to what he's about to say. Y'all listen. Before I press play, this is what I was talking about last week. So we were talking about, how the tide is turning, as far as work options as far as, what is going to be allowed, what level of activism is going to be allowed. The employees had the upper hand for a few years, and now things are turning for multiple reasons. But here is the biggest reason. When I press play, this is the biggest reason that I say, ladies, you need to get on top of your career plan, your work plan, your social plan, whatever plans that you need, because I'm going to let him tell you. So let's say that you refuse to go into the office ever. Okay. You don't ever, you ain't got to do it. It's a new day. You're not going into the office. You can work 100% remote. And if they don't like it, they can kick rocks. No problem. So you don't want to play the game. You don't want to negotiate. You don't want to compromise, because right now you're feeling yourself, which is totally understandable, because you look around right now and it makes sense that you would do that, right? The pandemic has ushered in this 100% remote setup, and employees are, folks ain't trying to work and all this other stuff, right? Listen to what this man has to say. You better get in where you fit in right now and start building relationships right now. All right, I'm gonna press play and tell me if you hear what I hear.
Now, I am part of that business community that is now politically disenfranchised. I would be thrilled if the administration, regardless of whether it's Biden, Trump, or someone else, would play that game. Because if you look at what's going on right now in the world, in Ukraine, you've got 45 million people that are going to have their country destroyed, and they have first world educations.
Uh-oh. You hear that? 45 million people with first world educations who are not going to talk back. Who are going to do what they need to do to get themselves and their family to security and safety. What does that mean for you? If you ain't trying to do nothing and you ain't doing nothing and you going to do everything you want to do, what does that mean for you? Bingo. Essence. You got it. Let's keep listening. Essence. Come on. Yes, Danny. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
There's a wonderful opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
In Russia, a country that besides a real shit show, there are a small number of people, less than 3 million, who are actually skilled technologically that are trying to get out. And what a wonderful opportunity there too. So
That's
every
right, she
time
does.
a country in the wider world gets smacked up the head, there's an opportunity to go there and to basically poach. But we need a change in mindset on our side.
Hold on. What did he say? Let's go back to the last. Say it again, Peter.
Who are actually skilled technologically that are trying to get out. And what a wonderful opportunity there too. So every time a country in the wider world gets smacked up the head, there's an opportunity to go there and to basically poach. But we need a change in mindset on our side before we can do that. I don't think that's going to happen in this administration. We'll see what the next one looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can do everything remote, you don't have relationships with people, nobody really knows you, and then they have an opportunity to hire people who don't have a chip on their shoulder, who don't have an attitude, what do you think these employers are going to do? Yes, Melody, we finally are. It's taken long enough. Let's look at, wait, let me see. Do I have anything else? Okay, yes. So let's look at this. K-shaped recovery. This is where we're going, y'all. K-shaped recovery occurs when, following a recession, different parts of the economy recover at different rates, times, or magnitudes. This is in contrast to an even uniform recovery across sectors, industry, or what? Groups of people. K-shaped recovery leads to changes in the structure of the economy or the broader society as economic outcomes and relations are fundamentally changed before and after the recession. This type of recovery is called K-shaped because the path of the different parts of the economy when charted together may diverge. This is the future. Okay. This is right. This is right. This is right. And you're right. Who said that a few minutes ago? Melody, you're right about what Erica said. Erica's great. I love her. She's so smart. About those visas. And that's actually what I have here. Because they're already talking about this. This is SHRM, Society of Human Resources Management, I think. Rebuilding the skilled worker pipeline using H-1B visas. This was written 3 months ago. As many manufacturers and large corporations know, the U.S. workforce is hemorrhaging experienced talent. The pandemic has caused many in U.S. skilled labor to take a step back. As early retirements become more prevalent, entire employment sectors are left scrambling to find replacement talent. Many employers are taking a second look at foreign labor, using the H-1B program to reinvigorate their skilled talent pipelines. With specialty occupations requiring at least a job-related bachelor's degree, what did Peter say? 45 million people with first world educations, specialty occupations, requiring at least a job-related bachelor's degree or the experiential equivalent. Companies can source healthcare professionals, attorneys, engineers, chemists, computer systems analysts, computer software developers, researchers, and budget and data analysts from outside the United States. All right. So do we have time to play? We don't. We just don't. Right? And I'm encouraging you ladies to start working on reaching out and building relationships in your network now, because that is what's going to save you when this happens. That's going to keep you from getting cut when this happens. So let's look at something else. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Hold on. CNN. Hold on. What's up? The tide is turning for everybody. Y'all know who this is? Yes, Essence, you do, honey. Make sure you do that. This is Miss Felicia Sonmez. She's a reporter. Well, she was a reporter for Washington Post. And one of her colleagues made a joke. He made a joke saying, I think it was like all women are bi. Either, actually, it was kind of funny to me, but he said all women are bi. They're either bipolar or bisexual. And so she started tweeting like the damn devil and just acting crazy. The guy took it down saying, hey, sorry about that. I was just trying to be, I was being funny. I'm sorry for whoever was offended. He took it down, no problem. Well, that wasn't enough for her. Little Miss Busybody here decided she was going to start harassing the leadership at Washington Post about, oh, he still got a job here, da-da-da-da. Right? Now, a couple years ago, she might have got away with that. That might have been okay. Not no more. They fired her. They fired her, right? So this is, y'all see this little face, right? So this ain't just about one group. If you acting like you ain't got no sense, you're gone. Like this is real. That's right. That's right. Hunger Games are for real. Next 3 years are crucial. Okay. Let me show you one more thing. I'm gonna let y'all go. Hold on. Okay. More companies start to rescind job offers. Okay. So businesses in several different industries are rescinding job offers they made just a few months ago, and a sign the tightest labor market in decades may be showing cracks. Companies including Twitter, Redfin, Coinbase have rescinded offers in recent weeks. Employers in other pockets of the economy are pulling away offers too, including some in insurance, retail, marketing, consulting, and recruiting services. Okay. This is not to scare. This is to prepare. This is so you can pay attention. This is so you can pay attention to what you are doing every day, what you decide to spend your time on every day, who you decide to deal with every day, and how you are doing your work every day, because this is happening. The other reason I wanted to bring this up is this is also a wake-up call for you ladies who like to procrastinate. Some of y'all have been clicking on my page for the Microsoft and the business analyst class for 2 years since I came out with that thing, with those classes, offering all types of payment plans, everything. Y'all have not done it. So you could have gone ahead, done that class, gotten your job, gotten another job, built great relationships, and you could be, feeling a lot more secure. Nothing's guaranteed, right? But feeling a lot more secure in how you've moved in the past 2 years. But most people got really high on what was going on day to day. That was a short term, that stimmy. Everybody was stimmy drunk. Everybody was cutting a fool. Stop wasting time. Okay. Yes. Unleash the Kraken. Yep. Cancer culture is being, yep. Everybody's tired of the wokeness. I don't have any classes on networking as a standalone. I do have some stuff in the business analyst, the career alchemy program. That's actually not a bad idea. I have to finish getting all this stuff migrated before I can do anything else. The only thing I'm doing right now is a Q&A session for ladies who want to get their project management certification. I'm going to do that next Wednesday night. And then I think maybe once I get that done and get all this stuff migrated over, maybe the first week of July, I might see if I can put something together. But I'm a little bit backlogged with some things I have to do. But I'm going to put it up on my whiteboard for networking. Yes, Danny. The woke busybody stuff is done. These companies don't care anymore. That's right. Time to get focused and strategic. So if you have not gotten either of the, let's see. So for you ladies who don't have a lot of office skills whatsoever, you need to check this out. You can just go to microsoftfundamentals.com. It'll take you to my page, the Microsoft Office Fundamentals for Newbies, for project coordinators. This will teach you everything you need to know about Office, Excel, PowerPoint, and how to understand what you're doing. So like I said last week, you can Google how to do something, but you can't Google how to translate it and make it and be personable about translating the information. Can you make the data tell a story? Can you make the PowerPoint tell a story? Okay, that's what you can learn in this class. Now, look, you have to sit down and do the work. Buying is not doing. Some of y'all sign up for stuff. Y'all look at the modules twice and y'all don't do anything. And then y'all try to go get a job and then y'all, you're frustrated. You have to sit down and write notes and listen again and email me with a question if you need clarification, only if you have watched the module. Do not ask me a question about the modules if you've not watched the module. And I know if you watched the module because I can see it in the system. So that's for you ladies who would be starting a little bit more on those junior level roles, which still pay pretty good money, 50K, 60K. Just depending on what part of the country you're in, maybe a little bit more. For you ladies who are a little bit more like closer to the leadership track, or you want to get on the leadership track and you want to learn those unspoken rules, you need to be in my business analyst class, my business analyst program. Let me do that for you. You need to be in my business analyst program. You will learn how to be a business analyst, which is pretty close to project manager. I was a business analyst and then I was a project manager. It really helped me become a project manager. You learn requirements, you learn, and you can see on the page, business analyst program. You'll learn your skill set that helps you make money. Either technical skills, the communication skills, the engagement skills, vision and leadership skills. Here's the module, software project team, roles and responsibilities. So I have the mindset components first, and then the skill set components. I don't talk about nonprofits on here much, Olivia. That's a different ball game. But a lot of the things that you would want to learn as far as communication, maybe this would help you. But if you would only want to be on nonprofit boards and you had no interest in the private sector, this might not be the best fit for you. So if you're 25, then honey, jump in. You can email me if you have a question. It really depends on your experience. So if you've already done quite a bit of admin work, exec admin work, or if you've worked on a project team already, you might be ready for business analyst, career alchemy. It just really depends on what you've done so far. You might need to start with Microsoft fundamentals because you still learn a lot of the communication, but you learn presentation, you learn Excel, and you just learn how to do different things and just make everything look polished and professional. And you learn like when to send an email, when to make a phone call, and when to have an in-person meeting. And those are really important. Those are those unspoken rules that nobody teaches you unless you have somebody like in your ear. So it just really depends. So if you have a question about which one you should take, you can send me an email. You can email hello@exceptionalwomanschool.com. Let me put this on here so y'all can see. Let me see. email hello@exceptionalwomanschool.com if you have a question about which one you should look into. Yeah, so whatever you do, you need to get started doing something. Oh, one more thing, Move Now for 20% off either one of those programs. Let me put it on here. All right, sorry, ladies. Microsoft Fundamentals or Business Analyst Program. I'm really encouraging you ladies to jump in here and get this done if you have not done it yet. Because, time is of the essence, right? We've wasted enough time. We've played, but there's no more time to play, right? You really got to get on it. Like, as we've seen, a lot of things are changing. But that means opportunity for you if you line yourself up the right way. So, use wisdom, get honest with where you are and what you need to do. And if you would like to get into one of the programs, I will be honored to have you. Like I said, email me if you have a question, only if you have a question about which program. I get a lot of emails. Okay. So please keep that in mind. Or if you want to get a session, I can do that. But, just try to be as focused as you can in the email and ask the question so I can answer it and help you. Because if you send me 5 paragraphs, I cannot read it. And that's not personal. It's just I get a lot of emails. So, ladies, I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something today. I hope you are, I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're getting ready. And I hope you're staying positive. So as crazy as everything is and as tight as everything is going to be, there's a lot of opportunity. You can set yourself up for a good life. You can set yourself up for a great retirement, everything, if you play this season right. So it's up to you, right? Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you have a fabulous evening. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, ladies.